Hey guys, I want to thank you for listening to the Stormwater Creek podcast this week. A little bit of a weird kickoff here. You're going to hear the normal, Jared and Abe shenanigans here in about 2 seconds. But wanted to give a big shout out to our friends over at the brand spiggity new North Texas chapter of the CCA organization. They are going to have their first annual chapter banquet June 1st. It's a Thursday, 6 p.m. at the Cotton Mill. It's 610 Elm Street, McKinney, Texas. It's about $100 for an individual ticket, and you could go check out our Instagram account. You can go check out the CCA_NTX Instagram account. You can go check out 3 Curl, which is Brian Donovan, who's the fearless leader of that chapter over there. But do us a favor, please, 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 please support this organization. They do great work all across the country, but most importantly, right here in the state of Texas. So even though you live in Frisco, those dollars are going to help redfish and all matters of aquatic life right here on the coast in Texas. So make sure you go give them a support. Go buy a ticket. There's a ton of raffle items. It's going to be a lot of fun. And old boy Brian Donovan knows how to throw a party, so I'm sure there'll be a couple tricks up his sleeve. So once again, thank you for listening to the podcast this week, and talk to you soon. Well, welcome back to another episode of Stormwater Creek podcast. The full crew is together again. We haven't had when was the last time we had a full crew podcast? A couple weeks ago?
Oh, it's been a minute.
Yeah. I think it's either been
a month?
2 of us or 3 of us, and finally we got 4 of us in a room together again.
Well, you're
not in a room together, remember?
Yeah.
Virtually.
You said you're going to buy cigarettes, and now you're in Galveston.
Yeah, what a liar.
Yeah, exactly. I think we need some milk. I'll be back.
There's a full gallon in
So, no, Dad. So we'll get to our guests. We're joined by Gayne Young this evening, which is a big time author, big time hunter, just overall cool dude to watch and pay attention to. So we'll come to you shortly, my friend, but I have a story that needs to be told to the world. Yesterday, I get a message from, I don't know, most people know him as BTK or Billy the Kid, a.k.a. Will, who is the 17-year-old that a.k.a. my son, who I've befriended down here. And we've done some duck hunting together, done some fishing together, and he sent me a text, was like, hey, can you come by my house? And this is very weird. The text was, can you come by my house after school? and I knew what he meant, like after he got out of school. So I was like, sure, I can come by. Was everything okay? He's like, no, my boat sunk today.
So just for clarity, he's 17. This is for Gayne. He doesn't know any of the backstory. And how
he's just like, this guy's hanging out with
children.
How old are you, Abe? I'm 39 years old.
All right. So put that out there.
So, okay. I live on Tiki Island. It's a small little island right north of Galveston. Okay. I was scouting for teal season. Most people know the story. I was out in the marsh running around, saw another mud boat.
You're going to way back.
I went by him. We kind of,
you're going too far.
Kind of talked, and we ended up chatting, and he ended up being a kid, and we just hunted together from there. So, but anyways, his boat sank yesterday and was tied to a dock and filled full of rainwater. And then I think there was a little hole in the back that water came into, and it sank that thing about 7 feet down in the canal, and only the nose of the boat was sticking out of the water. We'll get some pictures up. And so we had to recover that, which is an interesting thing, and then work on it all night. So pull the boat up for the water. It was kind of a crazy story. I think we ran 25 quarts of oil through the motor.
I was going to say, what's the good news then? What's the outcome?
We got the motor. We got it out. It was the first good piece of news. And then secondarily, we got the motor to crank and run for a second. So
secondarily,
got all the water out of the motor. Ready to go. So we'll see.
Wordsmith there, buddy.
This is like when we had Nate on last, and some of the words that you have for me are just astounding.
Look, name one. We do have a literature guy on today.
I blocked them out.
What in fuck? A wordsmith.
A wordsmith, a literal wordsmith.
We'll segue into it then. Yeah, you're bringing him up. Why don't you introduce? Let's see what's going on.
Yeah. So Gayne, how's it going, man?
It's going good. To give you insight as to where I'm coming from, I'm very disappointed because when you said BTK, I immediately thought serial killer.
Exactly.
And I was like, well, this is going to be a really cool story. And then, not that wasn't.
It
but
wasn't.
I was like,
No, it was a bad story.
Not as cool as it could
there
have
was
been.
not 10 victims involved. So,
Like somehow I've befriended BTK, the actual serial killer.
Pals with him.
We're pen
Why
pals.
don't you explain why we call him BTK?
Well, because his name is Will, and then that transformed into Billy the Kid, which then transformed into BTK.
Because
it's funnier than Billy the
Because
Kid.
Because it's
a
funnier.
serial killer.
It sounds like a serial killer.
Like a serial killer.
I also
it is a serial
does
killer.
he even understand? He's too young to probably know who BTK is.
No, he has no idea who BTK
He
is.
didn't- what-
He just thinks it stands for Billy the Kid.
Well, bless his heart.
Yeah, bless his.
most people below a certain age aren't going to know. So, he's good.
Yeah. We're going to make him
Dennis
watch
Rader.
Mindhunters on Netflix.
No, you need to make the grow a
Speaking of that-
mustache.
Let's ask our first question of the night. Gayne, your favorite serial killer, go.
Favorite.
Dahmer the Candyman, you know.
Yeah.
It's just-
Yeah. Dahmer's a good one.
Mhm.
That's a pretty good serial
Real
killer.
or made up.
I've always been
The
a
ones
fan of
that
like the
don't
Zodiac
catch.
killer.
It's
the ones they don't catch are always
Don't
Yeah.
they say Ted Cruz is the Zodiac killer?
Yeah.
Isn't that a running joke?
Also, he's Kevin from The Office, right?
Oh, yeah, that's true.
Well, let's not forget his dad killed Kennedy. So
Yeah, that's right. That's right. I forgot about that.
Yep.
Forgot about that.
Oh my
that
god.
is
Teddy
not
Ball
true,
game.
by
We
the
have
way.
to
I'm
throw an
just saying
X Files sound bit in just then. We did that on a
Yeah, I think my favorite serial killer's got to be one like the Zodiac killer that like instilled fear into a whole city.
I think that was all of them, man.
That's.
Just to be fair.
I mean, some of them did more. You know,
Did more.
I don't know. Some of them were more fearful than others.
I
So,
don't-
well,
Thanks for that.
Gayne, I mean, obviously, for people out there who are like, oh, who is, never heard of you? What's your deal, man?
Daddy and what's-
I'm a writer I've been published for 30 years going on now in the outdoor industry. I started out writing history for history journals while I was in college, and then happened to get drawn on a public hunt in Texas and down in Palacios, Texas for alligator. Caught a big 12-foot 4-inch alligator, and some friends were like, hey, you write all of this scholarly stuff. Why don't you try to sell it to an outdoor magazine? And I was successful and found out they paid a lot more money. And, that was a good way to offset the hunts I wanted to go on. And so started doing that. And I've written for Outdoor Life for a number of years, Sporting Classics. I'm currently writing for Field Ethos. I write for the local paper. I guess my claim to fame is I interviewed Vladimir Putin about the outdoors in 2011 before he decided to invade Ukraine and become crazy. That's about it. I've written a few books, field guides on Texas.
Yeah, I saw that.
I guess I'm coming up there in like 300-400 articles. I don't know.
What's it like writing
It's a very changing.
for Field Ethos nowadays?
Well, they've gone through a couple different people because they're still relatively new. To give you an idea, I guess I was writing for them for about a year before I knew Donald Trump Jr. was involved, when I got this email from him saying he enjoyed something I wrote. And I was like, who the hell is this? And it was literally Donald Trump Jr. And I was like,
Yeah, you're like,
oh, okay, I work for him. Gotcha.
Yeah.
So, but no, I was brought on by Jason Vincent, and it's a great magazine.
It
I
is.
really like it. I like the direction they're going. So it's a lot of fun.
Yeah, it's pretty cool. I dig it.
So I'm sure everybody wants to know about the whole Vladimir Putin thing. What was your take on it? And it was all done but like via video, right?
Yeah, video, email, online. I talked to somebody when he was in the room one time. Never talked to him personally. At the time, I really liked it a lot, but it was very disappointing because the focus of the story went from here's one of the most powerful men on the planet talking about hunting and fishing and how conservation, depends on that, and how he likes going outdoors, and how much money hunting generates worldwide. And it became a story of how did this small town teacher get an interview with Vladimir Putin?
Yeah, I can imagine nobody's going to give that the due that it should have gotten. Like you said, it should have been like, what a cool thing that this guy's saying.
And
so
then when he invaded Ukraine, it was my mother constantly texting me, "You've got to take all that off the internet." And I was like, "Well, I can't really cleanse the internet."
That's how it works, Mom. Yeah,
but
the internet's forever.
How did that?
Yeah,
come
the
about?
internet's.
How did you make that happen?
I was writing for Outdoor Life, and at that point, I was writing for the magazine, and I believe they're kind of in the news section, and it was kind of a smart aleck take on the news or products or things like that. And they were just getting onto the internet. It was just one of those things. I happened to be there at the right time. They said, Jim Zumbo said, the internet's never going to catch on. Do you want to write as many things as we would have him write? And I was like, yeah, whatever. So I became, at that point, I was the most popular on the internet on their webpage. And my girlfriend just blew a kiss at me at that. So that was nice. Yeah.
That's nice.
So I was writing about, that's when Putin was taking his shirt off and he was going on all these epic adventures. And so I kept writing about that and how cool it was, and how at that time President Obama, he was not out going hunting. And I said, this is kind of like, a throwback to Teddy Roosevelt. This is a leader of a country that enjoys the outdoors and blah, 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 blah. And they kept sending me the links or the numbers saying that this is phenomenal. We're getting so much traffic on this. And so I wrote an open letter to him, and then they were like, oh, this is great. How are you going to top that? And I said, well, I'm going to try to interview him. And they were like, yeah, good luck. He doesn't talk to anybody. And so one thing led to another, and I just finally made it happen.
That's pretty cool.
It's like most things, you just wear them down.
Well, my name Gayne is pretty unusual. It's the first name that was ever written down in English, but it also happens to be the name of the most popular ballet ever done in Russia. And I'm from Texas, and his secretary said I sounded a lot like Matthew McConaughey. So I was like, yeah, that's right. Okay, yeah. So kind of buttered her up. There was a lot of flirting involved, and she was like, you sound like Texan. I'm like, well, that's right. That kind of thing.
Good for you.
Wear her down. Yeah.
I love it. Yeah. It's the way it goes. So in like going through all of that, what was the thing that stuck out kind of the most about his outdoor adventures and things like that kind of was like, oh, wow, that's
that he actually, a couple things. Number one, that he actually got it. He's involved in the tiger repopulation program and on conservation and polar bear conservation. And he knew exactly some of the things that have been saved, some of the species that have been saved by hunting. And he was like, this species of argyle was almost extinct until the hunters came in, and now they pay this much money. And the same thing with polar bears. And I was like, well, would that work with tigers? And he was like, not yet, but you could get there, and blah, blah, blah. And so I thought that was pretty interesting. And then the second thing was that he was not, again, it's Russia, but he was not afraid. There were no PR people telling him, don't go hunting. Don't be seen doing this.
The dude does whatever he wants.
a lot of presidents that we've had have been hunting or fishing, and we get the after effects picture. We get Clinton walking out of the swamp with 2 ducks in his hands and saying that he'd shot them. We get still pictures of Obama shooting skeet. We got George Bush in the field holding quail. The last U.S. president that we actually have on film hunting or fishing, I take that back, fishing, George Bush, and George Bush, the second one, were fishing. But hunting was Jimmy Carter. He was the last true rural president, and a lot of people want to jump on me politically for that. But I'm like, he's the last rural president we were ever going to have. I mean, the guy grew up, he didn't have plumbing in his house. Hunting was a way of life for him. And he was also one of the first people to say, I'm going to set aside part of my farm for quail habitat because I like hunting quail. So he brought in biologists and he was like, well, how do I make it to where all these quail want to live here? So I thought it was very interesting that Putin was like not afraid to go do any of this. He's like, yeah, I'm going to go shoot this animal. Yeah, I'm going to go fishing. I don't care. If you don't like it, you don't like it. So very different.
Totally.
Yeah.
Didn't
It's weird to say that I wish more people were like that.
Yeah.
Dick Cheney was hunting too, right? Didn't he
Yeah.
go hunting?
Yeah.
He hunts the most dangerous game of them
Right?
all.
It was a different kind of hunting.
Yeah.
Yep.
Different.
I met the guide that he hunted with, and he drank a few too many beers and told me the full story, and I can never tell it. But I was like, "Oh, that's not quite the way I heard it went."
You want to come down here and fish some redfish? We'll
Okay, but
we'll do this with no computers involved.
We'll see you in front.
yeah. Again, he shot somebody in the face. I mean, it's one of those things,
Yep.
I mean, he shot somebody in the face. George W. Bush, when he was governor of Texas, he shot a killdeer while he was dove hunting. There's all these goofy stories like that.
Dude, one of my friends, the very first time we were dove hunting, he was dove hunting. We're out, and he just smokes a sparrow and was like, "I got one." We're like,
No,
you didn't.
I'm gonna walk over here away from you.
That was, that's just it's a miniature dove. No, that's not it at all.
I'm a horrible bird shot, and I have to say that when I was in Paraguay, on a pigeon hunt, I shot this bird, and I just thought it was the most beautiful thing ever. And they're like, yeah, it's great to eat, whatever. And I posted a picture on social media and immediately had to take it down because I don't know how many people were like, hey, that's an endangered species.
Oh my God.
Well, they didn't tell me that. They were like, yeah, it's good to eat.
Yeah,
I was like, okay.
things are different when you're hunting for food.
Yeah.
Or your guide is an Indian. Yes.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, on his end. Yeah. Shooting mergansers. I mean, not mergansers, cormorants. Yeah, you see people blasting at those things.
Sky blasting those
constantly.
things frequently.
Black geese.
Jordan has some cheat sheets out. So what do we got?
Oh, we've got we try to be prepared for this one is because we were
wheels
like, we
off
have to be buttoned up. Normally
I'm like
we're
Ron, I'm
yeah,
like
this
Ron
thing.
Burgundy. I have to read from the teleprompter.
Jared will read anything that's on the teleprompter.
Well,
yeah.
one thing, so we're talking about all your writings and everything. The way that I found out about you was my parents live in Fredericksburg, and my dad started giving me articles. And at first, my dad gives me a lot of articles from outdoors he thinks is interesting, but he's like, I really like this guy. You need to read this. You need to read this. And I'm like, okay, I'll get to it. I'm not a big reader, but I was like, finally I started reading one of your articles. And what I liked about it was it's different than what most people write for the Fredericksburg paper. It's all these interesting, random stories and facts, and it pulls you in a lot more. So like when he hands me, I'm like, oh, awesome, another one, cool. I'm gonna read this. And then he was the one that eventually was like, he gave me another article, and he's like, you should probably see if you can get this guy on your podcast, man. And I was like, that's a great idea. So, and then
you have to send me your dad's name and all.
I was going to say, explain how your father is real quick.
Yeah, my father's basically a Hank Hill. Like it's a pretty high compliment for him to go out of his way to hand me stuff like this. It's like, I mean, you should take it as a compliment. I know you don't know my father.
Well, thank you.
He might even listen to this podcast.
Yeah. He's going to. He's been excited. He was in town last weekend, and I was telling him, and he's like, "Oh man, all right, tell me when it's out."
Well, two things on that. One is I kind of went backwards. Most people that get into writing write locally for like the paper, and then they move up to national magazines. And I kind of went about it backwards. Is I just happened to. There was a lot of hard work involved. There's persistence, but I started out in national magazines. And the national magazines kind of started folding, and I became known here in Fredericksburg. And I said, I'd love to do a column. And I really like it because of what you just said. It's great to go to HEB and get feedback from, hey, I read your column this week. And I'm like, well, how do you recognize me? And they're like, oh, your hair.
Yeah, the weird
I
hair.
see you in the paper. Your hair looks like you stuck your finger in a socket. So I really like that aspect of it. And the other thing is that they pretty much just let me do. They said, as long as it has something to do with the outdoors, we really don't care. And I've gotten some blowback on some things. Mainly, I don't know if your dad ever showed you, but I'm involved in the Boy Scouts, and I volunteer to go to summer camp every year. And I Instagram every meal they feed us. And then I write about how horrible the meals were at summer camp. And the folks down at the Rotary Club corner the editor of the paper, and they're like, he's ragging on Boy Scouts. And they're like, well, no, he's not. I mean, he does donate all this time. If he wants to say that the meals are pretty crappy, then they are pretty crappy. But
well, I was a Boy Scout.
I will say on this last one, a fun little side story is I bought some Melinda's ghost pepper hot sauce and put that on all my food that I was eating, and it was great. And put it in the paper. They saw it. They sent me a case of ghost pepper sauce. They sent me like 12 pints of this stuff. So I'm like, I'm never going to eat all this. Yeah, so I give one to a friend. Well, that idiot leaves it in the cup holder in his truck in August. And it blew up everywhere.
Oh my God!
Pepper sprayed his
and
car.
So he opened the door, and he literally could not even drive it to get it anywhere cleaned. And then when he could, he like put on goggles. Seriously, he put on like goggles, and he put on a schmog around his mouth, and he went and he said, there's this car wash in San Antonio where he works, and all these guys run up and they're like, yeah, you got to clean this. And they're like, no, we don't clean this. This is horrible. No. My eyes burn. So he took a lot of steam cleaning to get that out. But
he basically popped off a can of bear spray in his car.
Yeah.
Holy shit.
Yeah, it's about what it was like. I don't know if you've ever had it. It's good stuff, but you wouldn't want it all over your car.
No.
I mean, Cholula's pretty mild, but I enjoy the flavor, and I wouldn't want Cholula coating the inside of my truck in the least bit.
No.
Cholula.
So, in doing some looking, are you still a teacher? You teach currently, or?
Yeah, I don't like to talk about that, but yes, I am. Here's the deal. So after I taught for when I got out of college, I was like, I want to be a writer, but obviously I'm going to have to do something. So I taught history and English, made my way out to the hill country, did very well. Writing as a supplemental, instead of a job, because teachers don't get paid a lot as much as they should. And once the Putin interview hit, all these magazines, opportunities just came at me, and I said, I've got to do something. So I stepped away from teaching for 5 years, and in that time, I was editor of Texas Sporting Journal, did a ton of stuff for Outdoor Life, Sporting Classics, Sports Afield. I slept late every morning, got up, wrote. It was great. It was every writer's dream. But it just came to the point where magazine after magazine had to go from print to online, and that meant pay went down. And so now I'm back to where I started. I teach journalism and English at Comfort Middle School, and I also write for a ton of different magazines and things like that. Awesome. To give you an idea, the first magazine story I sold on that alligator hunt, I got about $2,300. That same magazine now, it's actually still in print. They don't really have a big online presence. They pay about $150.
Oh, wow.
And that's all because of, it's funny. I used to hang out with the guys that sold advertising for Outdoor Life, and they were telling me about the heyday of, you were getting mid six figures for a full page, and we were all doing coke, and it was crazy. And, you're selling all these ads to all these people. And then by the time they folded that magazine, I think they were lucky if they were getting like $9-10 grand or something.
Wow.
Yeah.
So
it's crazy.
I tell you, and I don't know if this is on your agenda, but it's crazy in how it's changed, because I think people still need the full length stories, because to be honest, nobody's buying an African safari based on an Instagram post. they're buying it on, I read what this guy did. That was great. It was 5 pages in a magazine. I think I could do that. But, when it's a picture of, here I am in Africa with my girlfriend and she's got really big rack, you don't book a safari that way.
Mm-mm.
No.
I guess I can say rack.
Yeah, we don't.
You can say whatever.
Say whatever you want.
Okay.
You can say the F word if you want to. You can say the S word.
Yeah.
I just told you I still teach. I can't do that.
What's the S word?
The S word. Stupid.
Shoot. Stupid. Yeah.
Shut up.
Well,
Okay.
my dad was a teacher for 33 years, and I appreciate what you do. I understand
Thank you.
that's one of those deals. So when I heard you were a teacher, I was like, man, I got to talk to you. But I understand too. You're kind of like, man, that's one of those sensitive subjects. That's like, he drank beer. Oh my God,
Oh yeah, that's part of the fun and the downside of being on social media and having a name that no one else has, is they can just Google me and they're like, hey, did you shoot an ostrich? Oh my gosh, you shot a zebra. And I'm like, yeah, that's cool, right? Like,
It was
okay.
delicious. Yeah.
It was.
Yeah, I'm excited to talk a little hunting with you for sure. But I have a couple more things that I just always like to chat with people who are in this kind of the eye of the public. What are kind of the best comment or kind of review type thing you've ever gotten, and what's the worst?
Oh, I worked for the Dallas Safari Club. I did their media for a long time, right when they were going online. And they auctioned off the black rhino hunt, the first one that was going to be importable into the United States. And since I was kind of the face of that, I think I got 5,000 plus hate comments. And some of those were actually, I was reading them, while drinking. I was like, okay, well, that one was funny. Okay, well, that one, it's like, I hope you die with a rhino horn up your butt. I was like, okay, well, that was kind of clever,
Good job.
that kind of thing. So, I guess when I first started writing books and they were on Amazon, I would go, they say don't read your reviews, but I of course did. And I took it further. It was like, oh, this guy didn't like my book. Okay, well, let me see what else he reviewed. Oh, the only thing he liked was the Bible. Okay, no, I can't compete with that.
Mm-mm.
So
Yeah.
it's just
Gotta look
just
at the
random
optics
things
of it.
like,
Yeah.
yeah. What you said earlier is the kind of thing I really like, though, to be honest. This person doesn't really read that much, or he's not into that, but he likes this. So I like that a lot.
Totally.
My growing up, I read Peter Capstick and Hemingway and Rourke and all those. And I was always like, man, how cool is it? Like Peter Capstick, he's like, everything he writes, somebody's reading it going, man, I'm a wimp. And I was like, I want to be there someday. And so now if I ever get anything like that, I'm like, I know that sounds horrible, but I'm like, oh, that's pretty cool.
Yeah,
I made you feel insignificant.
Well, and like
very cool.
a lot of the stuff too, you read up, like you're kind of saying that like the Instagram posts and all that stuff is doesn't really do a whole lot. And then a lot of the stories you read now are just almost the same thing on repeat. You know what I mean? They're still cool. They're fun to see and all that stuff. But like, then you read an article about some dude in, Switzerland that took all his meth from his platoon and skied all freaking.
Oh yeah.
All went.
Was that World War II?
Yeah, something like that.
That's
And
a good
he
story.
skied for like weeks, wasn't it? And like finally,
I don't remember how
days.
long it was, but it was one of those things that, when I wrote that up, yes, you're right. He took all the meth in his unit to go get help, and he skied for like 36 hours straight, passed out, never knew he even passed out because he was still skiing. And then, just kept going. And so like, I've had my local physician read that, and she was like, yeah, he should have been dead. How'd that happen? I was like, I don't know, but it's documented. So,
and he lived to like 90 or something like that. Like,
something insane like that. That's kind of how I got into the industry. Was I read a lot of weird history, and I would say, let me write this in a way that makes it a little more palatable for today. And so that was good. And then when I started getting into going on hunting, it was literally like magazines would say, no one else wants to do this. Do you want to do it? Or there was a big fear, I don't know, 10 years ago, that it was like, if you go to Mexico, you're going to get your head cut off. And I was like, I don't think that's true necessarily. And they were like, yeah. They're cutting off people's heads on the other side of El Paso, so I'm not going to go to Baja. And I'm like, okay, you understand that's on the other side of the continent.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And they were like,
It's like saying people are dying in Portland and you're not going to go to Miami.
yeah, it's exactly what it's like. So like I went to a lot of hunts in Mexico, and that kind of, and I'd write these things up, and it was like, oh, now we want you to go to this place. So a lot of how I got started was nobody wanted to do it, or people didn't want to go there. So
That's cool.
I did. And I think part of my success has always been that I've always been honest, and I'm like, here, I missed this shot, or I could never afford to go to this place for real, because I always hated it growing up. I mean, I'm friends with some of these writers that I'm thinking about right now that they're like, well, I booked a hunt. I'm like, no, you didn't. You got it for free. Come on, Dan. What? Everybody knows that. You might as well say it.
Yeah.
Does that sense of
Be honest.
that sense of traveling to places where people didn't want to go, does that kind of tie into kind of the I can't think of the proper way to say it, but just kind of like the lost art of being like manly and like getting outdoors? Does that kind of tie into that sort of like
that's a good point. Yeah.
Like, does that tie into, that sense of like, hey,
I think there's nothing wrong with discomfort, and I think it makes for a better story. I'll put it that way.
Absolutely.
Embrace the suck.
I'll say this, I had a principal once that was like, you never really tell me any good stories. And I'm like, what do you mean? He's like, oh, that like you changed this kid's life. And I'm like, well, because that doesn't make a good story. Some kid said he wanted to shoot me. That's actually a pretty good story. But, you changed my life. I gave you an apple.
Yeah.
Me falling into a porta potty in the Yucatan, people like that kind of thing.
Yeah.
They don't want to go, I went hunting and it was great.
Mhm.
That makes sense. I mean, same thing with our stories when we share them on the podcast. It's not like they want to hear about like, oh, I did this and I had a really fun week. They want to hear about
The mess.
like me jumping out of my boat in 7 feet of water
Absolutely.
because I'm an idiot.
Yeah. And again, those are things that you will remember, and it's the mileage that
Absolutely.
you put on.
Yeah.
It's great.
Oh yeah.
Agreed. So, in terms of hunting, where did that start as a kid? Did you grow up in a hunting family? Or was it?
My grandparents were ranchers in West Texas, so I did a little there, but it was more, for fun rather than anything that's being eaten. My dad was on a bunch of deer leases, but it was mainly a corporate type situation where he would like, okay, these other guys are bringing their kid. I need you on this. But so I was exposed to hunting and firearms that way. But it wasn't like my father was like, okay, our next hunt is going to be this. But it was through reading, Teddy Roosevelt and Rourke and Capstick and all these that I was like, okay, how can I do this? And so the Texas public hunt thing was one way, and that was really, I got to go on a lot of things that way. I really did it. And then again, I literally said to myself, I'm never going to be able to afford to go to Africa, but I want to go there and shoot things. How do I make this happen? Okay, well, if I can write about it and I'm good at that, then maybe somebody will pay for it and I can do that. And so it's worked out very well. I've only been to Africa 5 times. I've been to the Amazon fishing like 6, and been Paraguay and, New Guinea and lots of crazy places. So it's,
what was kind of your most like
memorable?
Yeah, I mean, well, I want to get to that for sure, but like, what is the most kind of like remote, like what is the one that's like the furthest off the map type thing that you did?
Probably New Guinea, and that never, I went fishing there, but I never got to go hunting. But it was literally, I grew up in Bryan College Station, and a friend of mine's dad was an entomologist, an insect doctor. And when I was in college, he said, I got to go on this collecting trip down there. And it literally took 3 days for me to get there from Texas. And it was just, and once we got to New Guinea, it took another 3 to get to where we were going. I mean, it is absolutely crazy. So that would probably be the most remote and most memorable.
What's the logistics on that? Taking 6 days to get somewhere. Like what?
You go from, at that time I was in Austin to San Francisco, from San Francisco to Australia, Australia to New Guinea. From New Guinea, you've got to get 4-wheel drive, and you've got to go through, these places, and then you got to turn around because that road didn't work. So you got to go all the way back and go around, and then you jump in a puddle jumper plane and that kind of thing. So
exhausting.
Yeah, I remember, to give you an idea of how long ago that was, the flight on the way to Australia from San Francisco, that was before you had the individual entertainment systems. They would just have one screen in the aisle.
Oh, yeah.
And they said, hey, we're going to show Titanic. And after it was done, the captain literally came on and said, hey, what the hell? We got time. Let's watch it again. And so they showed Titanic 2 times in a row. And I think it was like a 19-hour flight, and it's just like, it's insane. You're like, I'm spending a day in a seat.
Yeah, in a fart tube.
In the sky.
Yeah, absolutely.
No internet.
Ugh.
No, none of that.
A 9 hour, like, what is it, 7-8 hours from Dallas to Paris? And it's like, that is enough for me. I'm already, like, anything like more than that, and I'm already like, I got to get out of here.
Yeah.
I need to see I need to breathe real air,
Yeah. Australia's pretty high up my bucket list. But it's like you said, I think the flight's still 12 hours. So
yeah,
it's like, all right, if I'm going to take off the time to do this, I'm going to stay there a couple weeks. So I'm not making a 12-hour flight either way for 4 days or some business. Mm-mm.
And to come back to Capstick, that was one of the first books I read of his, was How to Plan a Safari. And it was, you have to go on every hunting trip as if this is the only time I'm going to go.
Yeah.
Because you never know if you're going to go back, and you got to get the most out of it that you can. And it was like, don't worry. At that time it was film. It was like, don't worry about how many pictures you take on film, because you may not never go back. Don't worry about how many days, because you may never go back. I was like, oh, okay. That all makes sense.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
It's good advice.
Abe, what were you about to say?
Good.
I think Jordan had a question.
No. Oh, no.
He did earlier, but I think
you kind of took it away from me, kind of.
You cut him off, and now he's lost his. He lost the momentum.
Oh, sorry.
Oh my God.
No, you didn't cut me off. It was
Hey,
Abe.
not you,
It was all
it was
Abe's
Abe.
fault.
Everything is Abe's fault.
No, it's me.
He knows I get distracted
Abe, not
easily.
Gayne. Oh, I know. And of all the people, I don't want to hurt your feelings. You're the nicest guy.
You've obviously, we've talked about your travels and, hunting and fishing. Is there one that you prefer over the other? I know for me personally, I started off with fishing and I've lost the bite. I lost the bite. I've kind of lost, my passion for it here recently. And we've gotten more into, gunplay and, training with guns and getting better with guns and getting into hunting. Is there one that you...
Well, I will say, when you take something that you enjoy doing and you turn it into a job, it does take away some of the novelty. But then I try to remind myself, you're getting to do things you've always wanted to do, and a lot of people don't get to do. Mm-hmm. That being said, I'm a 5th-generation Texan. I do not handle the cold very well.
My man.
We're a tropical
I've been
people.
in some places. Yes, I've been some places that I did not like in terms of the cold. Like, I went, one of the things I told you about earlier was going to Mexico. Well, the first pheasants I ever shot was in Baja, California. And I was like, this is awesome. It's 80 degrees. You shoot pheasants all day long. Then you drink Mexican beer and you go hang out in the pool. Well, that article was really well. So this bird magazine said, we're going to send you to South Dakota for pheasant. And that was not as much fun. I did not like that at all.
Molson and no pool.
Yeah. I went on a bison hunt in North Dakota one time. And after I shot the bison, my guide and I are driving back. and we got pulled over, and he got a ticket. And after that happened, I asked the officer, I was like, may I have my picture with you? And he was like, why? And I said, I am wearing 3 layers of Arctic clothing, and I'm freezing my butt off, and you're in short sleeves. And he was like, it's only 30. So,
Yeah.
I mean,
It's only 30.
It's only 30. So I got my picture with him, but I was like, this is insane. I can't do this kind of thing. So, and I'm helping a guy named Ricardo Longoria right now write up some of his exploits. And I just now got to the part where he's hunting polar bear, and I'm like, that sounds absolutely miserable.
That's terrible.
What are you doing when it's 35 degrees below zero? Why? I don't know.
When your fucking eyes are
slowly
freezing,
dying.
Same temperature it was at the house at Jared's bachelor party.
And you're wearing so much
Negative
clothing that you have to take your jacket off in order to shoot your bow. I'm like,
yeah.
Okay, good for you, Ricardo.
Yeah, no. We're big duck hunters, so starting in November, we pay more attention to the weather in South Dakota and Iowa than we do right here, right? Mm-hmm. And you'll look at some of that, and you'll be like, "Oh, it's 7 degrees with a negative 20 below wind chill, and 25, 30 mile an hour winds." And I'm like, "Oh my god!" Why would you stop there?
We got our little taste.
Just
of
keep
it this
going.
Year. We got our taste of it.
We got
this
it for 3 years now.
Yep.
But it actually happened during duck season.
For duck season, yeah, that's what I'm saying. We hunted in it.
For duck season, yeah.
God.
So you were mainly a big game hunter. I know you said you didn't. The bird thing is.
I'm not very good at birds. I've done, like I said, a lot of things people didn't want to do, but yeah, mostly big game.
Yeah.
And then that kind of, I got to say that turned into, whether you agree with it or not, I got sent to a lot of game ranches, like the Ox Ranch down in Uvalde, where I think it's just under 20,000 acres, one high fence around the place. So I went from nobody wants to go to the Yucatan because it's going to be miserable to, hey, do you want to go to this 5-star resort? And I'm like, okay.
Yeah, well, twist my arm.
Yeah. And that's the thing for me is the high fence stuff, a 20,000 acre high fenced ranch.
Yeah.
I don't put into that category. It is we have a high fenced ranch around 300 acres. That is a different, that's a different thing altogether, Yeah.
I mean,
20,000 acres. They don't even know there's a fence.
Like the Ox Ranch. When you're going to a place like the Ox Ranch, you literally have animals that have never seen the fence.
Right.
Yeah.
So
I don't count.
If you have something against that, that's fine. I think in hunting, we all need to be a little bit more acceptable of, if you want to do that, that's fine. It's, it doesn't break any laws and you're helping conservation. So,
we're all in it together.
Yeah. One of those things like not my bag, but good for you, dude. Get after it,
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I 100% agree. I don't think there's anything wrong with a high fence, except like Abe said, once you have a small piece of property and you throw it on there, then it's kind of a weird thing, but whatever.
Yeah, to me, it's kind of
you still do.
It's kind of like
one hunt I went on with a friend. A friend got a hunt on eBay years ago that was in Harper, and it was literally it was one of those. It was 90 acres high fence, and when we got there, he's like, "No, I'm not going to do this. This is horrible."
That's actually where Jordan's parents live.
What was the name of the property?
We're 200 acres.
I don't know, but it was one of those that it was literally they would just push animals into and people would hunt. And I was like, my friend, I got to give him credit. He was like, no, I'm not going to do this.
Whenever they send the animal out, oh shit, I forgot the leash on it. Hang on.
Yeah. Hold on.
Yeah. That guy.
Get out of here. Come on. Go. Run off.
It was like that goat in Jurassic Park.
Yeah.
They fed the Tyrannosaurus.
I was going to say, what is it? King of the Hill, where they go out hunting and the feeder goes off and all the deer just come to the feeder and they're all just standing there 10 yards away from them. Wait a minute.
Oh, feeders.
So you've hunted Africa a bunch, right? I think you said 5 times, or you've been to Africa 5 times.
Yeah, hunted.
Any crazy close a lion jumped on top of the Jeep type thing story, or
no? I wrote about it. I had one of my skinners got drunk and tried to stab my PH, and I mean, the PH knocked him out with a punch, and then he got up and tried to stab him again, and he left. And I was like, so if he killed you, what would have happened to me? He's like, oh, he probably would have killed you too, because he doesn't want to leave a witness. I was like, oh, okay,
witnesses.
Yeah.
Wow. All right.
Yeah.
Yeah,
you do any crazy stuff? Nah, man, I just almost got killed.
Big deal.
Yeah, that kind of thing. Yeah, it seems like I've been to lots of places where just strange things happen. But I think that's kind of the writing mentality that I have is just pay attention. And whereas other people are kind of not paying attention. I don't know if that makes any sense, but I think as a writer, I just kind of pick up on quirky things, and I'm like, okay, well, that seems a little odd, or maybe I'll write about that.
I can see that.
Totally.
Yeah.
For the
I don't know. Like the last time I was in the Amazon fishing, it was like there was a father and son, and the guys were getting worried because the father would go out there and just pass out on the boat while he's peacock bass fishing. And the son's like, yeah, he's on his vacation. He's having fun. He likes to drink and take Oxy. And
all right.
like,
hell yeah.
It was like, yeah, but he shouldn't be doing that on the equator.
Yeah. That's
and passing out in the boat.
That's what Galveston's for.
Yeah, I guess.
Built for that.
Just kind of things like that. I was like, okay.
Wow.
I don't know. You notice all these weird things, and you're like, wait, what? I don't know.
I'm sorry, what?
That's good.
Yeah. Yeah, it's pretty good. Do you have a kind of an annual hunt you go on? Like this is our annual thing we do, just local even, or,
it just depends. I really like Oak Creek Whitetail Ranch in Missouri. They've always had me up there. I might go up there for a red stag coming up in September. I don't know, but I've been up there. That's an annual thing. I go shark fishing down Aransas Pass every year with friends. That's always the thing. I go spear fishing down Lake Amistad when there's water in it. It's about 50% capacity now, which is not good.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So things like that.
It's pretty cool.
I want to catch a black tip reef shark this summer. Pretty bad. Abe.
Well, I go with this guy that we always catch him in the bay. I mean, like the deepest I've ever caught was I caught a 7-foot bull shark, and it was in like 6 feet of water.
Yeah.
And you look over, and there's these trout fishermen, and they're like, "What'd you get?" And you're like, "This big shark." I'm like, "Oh, okay."
I'm standing in this water.
Yeah, I'm standing in this water.
Yeah, we were
noticing things like this guy. He doesn't ever want me to promote him, but he gives me a cut because I write about it anyway. But it's like, I'll be drinking beer while I'm shark fishing. And he's like, yeah, I don't do that. Well, he'll have 12 Cokes during the time I'm having 5 beers, and he weighs like 300 something pounds. And it's like, you just notice these things as a writer.
Yeah.
That seems a little odd. maybe I'll put that into an article that he's like, drinking ain't that good for you. Give me another Coke.
It's okay. It's
you just killed a rack of Coke.
Oh,
yeah.
It makes my teeth hurt to think about that.
Yeah. Yeah. Austin's on a mission this year to get sharks. I'm stacking the bait pen full of sand trout and croaker.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And when he gets down here again, we're going to go try to get him on a big old shark.
I like shark and gumbo. I think it's great.
Ooh,
I don't know
shark
why
and
more
gumbo.
people don't.
Done. Consider it.
Yeah, I make it every year.
That sounds real good.
That can happen.
Yeah.
Let me ask you this question on gumbo: rice or potato salad?
I've never heard of potato salad, so
it's the only way to go.
I'm going to say rice.
Yeah.
That must be some Galveston thing I've never
Southern
heard
Louisiana.
Okay.
It's delicious.
It's the way to go.
It actually is.
Okay.
Last time I was in Louisiana, they did that. Oh man, it's good.
They ladle gumbo on top of
potato salad. It seemed weird at first to us too. The Meat Eater show called
mustard or mayonnaise potato salad.
Mustard is the way to go.
Yes, good.
Yeah, it's good vinegar.
So to give you an idea, that what you just said reminds me. You're wondering what kind of teacher I am. Every now and again, I'm like, "Hey, mustard or mayonnaise potato salad?" And some kid will say mayonnaise, and I'm like, "No, you're wrong. How can I be wrong if it's an opinion? Because it's wrong."
You tell them to get out of your classroom, go home.
Nothing wrong.
Yeah, like,
you just get the hell out of here.
What do you put on a pizza? Cheese. No, it's jalapenos and pepperoni. You're wrong. What?
Man, I don't fit in here. Pepperoni's my least
What's
favorite
your
pizza
go-to?
topping.
Well, you do, is it beef and
Italian sausage and onions and sometimes jalapenos. Yeah.
Yeah, you got to have the jalapenos on there.
But
it's a solid pizza that you make. I mean,
double cheese, double sauce, black olives, pepperoni.
See, pepperoni, I just don't do. I don't get it.
When you don't get it,
I'm not a fan.
It's pepperoni.
It's pepperoni.
Yeah.
And mayonnaise potato
Gosh
salad's
darn
fine.
Eagle Scoot over here don't like pepperoni.
Yeah, Austin's
He's
an
an
Eagle
Eagle
Scout,
Scout.
by the way.
Oh, good.
Yeah.
Eagle Scoot from up north. Yeah.
That's not true at all.
Yeah, he's from up there from
Jared's having a stroke or something. Let's talk about Bigfoot.
Bigfoot.
Yeah.
I'm serious.
Segue, yeah.
I agree.
Okay.
Okay.
So for real, man, like Bigfoot.
Yay or nay?
I'm always answer that as there is the potential for such.
Sure.
The fact that they are still discovering large terrestrial animals, the one that always gets me is there's 2 antelope. You've got to think during the Vietnam War that soldiers covered every area of jungle, and they did not discover 2 deer-sized antelope living in the jungle until 2000.
Yeah.
I mean, it's crazy. And when you think of the fact that the piney woods of Texas that connects to Arkansas and Louisiana and all that is literally bigger than the Congo and far less inhabited than the Congo. Yeah, there could be something in there.
Yeah, man.
Could be a crackhead. Got a hold
Good stuff. Could be a lot of things, but yeah, and that was one of the things I got a lot of trouble for or grief for is people were asking me, why'd you ask Putin about Bigfoot? And I was like, well, he said he didn't know, didn't he? He was like, yeah, there's a lot of them in Siberia that are spotted.
That's good.
Well, yeah,
I don't know. I have a love-hate relationship with apes, and I just think that's kind of fascinating that, even Theodore Roosevelt said he saw one, and there's a lot of things. There's a lot of, meth heads out there that have seen, I've done seen this. And it's like, no, you didn't. And then there's also some things that you're like, well, maybe, I don't know. So I will go with a possibility. If it's around now, I think it's probably not as probable as it was maybe 50 years ago. But I'm going to go with yes. The North American wood ape exists.
Nice.
There you go.
You heard it here,
Yeah,
folks.
you heard it here, people.
Breaking news.
You heard it here. I wish I had a breaking news sounder. That'd be awesome.
No sound effects. No sound.
Except I don't. Except I don't. So, just in terms of like the fishing side of things. Well, hold on a sec. Before we leave the yay or nay alive, John Denver.
What?
Dead or alive, man.
That guy, I guess you're referencing that I was in a cigar bar in Fredericksburg, and this guy came in and he was saying he was locked up with him and he's still alive. But it should be noted that same guy said he was going to open a Christian titty bar. So I don't know what that is.
I couldn't. I was reading that.
I'm Episcopalian, so we're pretty lenient. And I went to my priest and I was like, do you know what this is? And he said, Christian titty bar. I guess maybe they're wearing a crucifix when they dance. I don't know, gang. I'm going to say
splash you with holy water.
Yeah, I'm going to say John Denver dead.
Agreed.
Yes,
and a liar. These Rocky Mountains aren't rocky.
Hell of a musician.
John
not
Denver
a hell
sure
of a
was
pilot.
full of shit.
Yeah. Dumb and Dumber. Classic.
Very good.
Oh yeah, man.
Speaking of cigar bars, what's your favorite smoke?
Yeah.
I like the Atabey, which is, I didn't even know it existed until somebody gave me one time. And I told the owner of Tobacco House there in Fredericksburg, Texas, I was like, hey, man, it's probably the best cigar I ever had. And he was like, well, it should be. It's like $40. And I was like, oh, all right. The fact that I thought it was that good before I knew the price ought to tell you something. But right now my go-to is the La Fontana by the La Fontana Michelangelo by La Fontana. It's owned by the Davidoff people. Yep. It's a Honduran smoke, real smooth, real creamy all the way through.
Jordan, do you know those things?
I've seen that cigar. I've never smoked it.
Jordan doesn't have a cigar smoker.
Well,
no.
I'll be honest. We've been go ahead. Sorry.
No, I will say, I get a lot of free samples and stuff like that. And people are like, have you ever had Cubans? And I was like, well, yeah, I've traveled all over, and Cubans are kind of overrated. There's such a high nicotine content.
Yeah.
Every third or fourth, and I'll play the wimp card. Every third or fourth Cuban I've ever had has put me in a cold bathtub. Like, don't throw up, don't throw up, don't throw up.
Yeah.
Because I'm literally shaking after one. Yeah. But yeah, I tend to like the Connecticut wrapper, the medium heavy. I like Perdomo. I like, you can go Island Gem is a good one. The Andalusian Bull, I really like that one.
There you go.
But definitely, wherever you get them, make sure you go to Fredericksburg, Texas, to Tobacco House.
We've been there.
Right off Main.
I was going to ask you about it because I saw your lovely advertisement for them on YouTube.
Yeah.
I used to go in there all the time and write and buy cigars, and I still hang out there a ton. So I really like it.
After watching that, I wanted to ask you one question. Have you ever written an article in a Starbucks?
No, I don't like coffee. Right. I don't like Starbucks. I don't like coffee. So,
dude, I 100% knew the answer before just because I've been looking you up and doing research. I was like, there's no way this guy's ever gone into a Starbucks and written an article.
As a matter of fact, I had to ask some friends. I was like, hey, my girlfriend drinks coffee. How do I do that? And they're like, you don't drink coffee? I was like, no, I don't drink coffee. I'll have 8 Diet Dr. Peppers in a day, but I don't know. My parents never drank coffee, so I never picked up the habit. I really don't like it.
That's interesting.
Well, I will
tell you this, though. One of my Boy Scouts worked at – this is one of my favorite coffee stories – worked at a coffee store called Java Ranch on Main Street in Fredericksburg. 3 years ago, the girl that plays Tori on Cobra Kai, the very attractive Tori, came in there for a wedding. And I was like, well, hey, man, so what happened? He goes, she was so cool. She was like, get over here and get a picture with me. And she's like, put your hand around my waist like this. And, man, I kept farting. I was so nervous. And she never said anything.
Yes. If you don't talk about it, you just own it, dude.
Way to represent, man.
That's good.
So let me ask you this. I feel like we've been putting some real, slow pitch softball questions at you here, and I'm going to have to come high and tight with one that's probably going to get you in a little bit of trouble.
Okay.
But I need you to be honest, and I need you to hang in there with us here, and be honest. That's the big important thing here, right?
Have fun.
Have fun with this. But it's going to. Let me just tell you right now, this question is going to get you in trouble. But you're going to have to stare into it. You can only eat at one German food restaurant in Fredericksburg moving forward for the rest of your life. What is it?
Altorf's.
Altorf's. Okay.
It's down on the West End.
Yep.
Okay.
I like it. Auslander's a good second.
Yeah, that's where we always go.
Auslander's.
That's where we went, right?
Mine is Auslander's, then Altdorf's. And
okay.
I used to
Altdorf is a little pricey, but and I know the guy that his wife's family owned that building when it was a blacksmith shop, so I'm kind of partial to that.
That's cool.
That's fair.
That's pretty neat.
But yeah, Auslander's good. I got a lot of former students that work there, and I got one named, I'll go ahead and throw it out there, Ben Blake at Auslander's, always gives me a free beer because he says, I apologize for the way I was when you taught me in high school. So, and I think he's in his 30s now, so he's more than paid for it. So
that's pretty. That's the kind of teacher story you want. Like, It's
like, hey, the first one's on me. I'm sorry, I was such a jerk. I'm like, okay.
It's a good teacher.
All right. Yeah, it's a good teacher for sure. So this next thing is pretty corny, but we're going to have to give a shout out to the Bass and Brews guys for speed round questions here. We're going to play the game Marry F Kill Your Books. So
okay.
Which one? You got to marry one, kill one, and F one.
We said you can say curse words on this podcast. You're allowed to say fuck.
You got to freak one,
but instead, why don't you just?
Oh my God! You people! First of all, before you answer this, and I'm gonna buy Gayne a little bit of time here to think through this. If I would have said fuck, you'd have been like, "Dude, don't say fuck." Yeah. Be professional.
I can't say fuck,
buddy.
Dude, yeah, my whole Apple Watch just went nuts.
Mary, I would say my hunting book and Monkeys Threw Crap at Me. Adventures in hunting, fishing, and riding, because that was all the things I was not allowed to put in magazines. Look for the sequel coming out this summer, Blood, Sweat, and Alcohol. More adventures in hunting, fishing. The F, is that like a good F or a violent hate F?
It's your F.
Dealer's choice.
Yeah,
dealer's choice.
How many drinks have you had?
I would.
Yeah. It can be a grudge or a love.
The Vietnam Bigfoot book. Bigfoot, the Vietnam encounter declassified, because it's actually based on a few true stories that I just kind of put together. I like that one. Kill, probably my first two hunting guides, because I get so much grief off of those. People are like, I literally, I did a book signing one time when it first came out, Bass Pro Shops, and somebody would come up and they'd look through this guidebook to hunting big game in Texas. Well, you ain't got enough on here on nutria rat. And I'm like, okay, well, I'm sorry about that. Or, I don't know how many, if I had a quarter for everybody that told me, there ain't nothing about hunting you can't tell me, or, you can tell me. And I'm like, okay, whatever. So, yeah, let's put those guidebooks to bed.
Yeah. Okay. The best cocktail you've ever had in your life. Best cocktail.
Best cocktail. I actually like gin and tonic, like martinis, but probably Long Island iced tea. Let's go with that.
Yes.
Oh, man. Yes. I love teas. I love it.
Or there's one in Brazil, but I can't pronounce it. It's made with Curaçao. It's made with that, but yeah, it's
Carpagena.
Yeah. What is that called?
The Carpagena?
It means drunk stupid or something like that. It's really good. For those of you that are listening at home and can't see because this isn't being recorded, I can see that Jordan just put his feet up on the table and he's barefoot, and that's the kind of professionalism we're dealing with here.
Oh yeah, 100%.
Our listeners know what's up.
Yeah.
Yeah. There's something you're making too is Abe doesn't have pants on.
No, yeah. Exactly. I'm just tops. I'm just tops here.
No, I prefer the Winnie the Pooh.
Yeah, because I'm a little fat.
You're just a little bear.
You just waddle around.
Just gonna eat your honey.
I'm just a little bear boy. All right. So what's the best meal you've ever kind of had?
Kind of had.
That you didn't all the way eat. Maybe it was baby birded too. I don't know.
No,
what's the best meal you've had?
Argentina, in the middle of the day when you're hunting dove, they set up a white tablecloth and they grill stuff, and the food groups down there are meat, cheese, beer, wine. So
deal.
It's great, but they took this thing. It's like the layer of fat that covers the ribs on a pig, and it's super thin. And what they do is they put lemon, salt, and pepper on it. They throw it on coals, and just basically it becomes like a wet pork rind, and it just melts in your mouth. It's just fat. And I came back to Texas. I went to I don't know how many butcher shops, and I'm like, look, here's a picture. This is what they told me it is. And they're like, yeah, we can't do that. So I don't know what the deal is.
Sounds interesting.
Sounds good. Yeah.
Yeah, I would eat that every day.
Argentina is super rad. I liked it down there.
Yes.
Good people.
Very nice.
Well, you said you have a book coming out soon. Any other things that are upcoming or?
No, just keep going to Field Ethos and comment and send an email to Jason Vincent or Donald Trump Jr. telling them how much you like me, and they'll keep me on. So I got to say, it's one of those things that I'm always like, I got an idea. How about I write up this? And they're like, is that real? And I'm like, yeah. People used to throw foxes up in the air on a rope for fun. He's like, oh, okay, yeah, go ahead.
I mean, that's their speed.
Yeah,
absolutely.
Yeah, so
for sure.
Well, do you boys got any other questions?
I don't think so.
I feel like we rang this.
So the Brazilian liquor, was it cachaça?
Yeah, but they make a couple cocktails out of it. Yeah, it's good stuff.
It's like sugarcane liquor with the drink. Yeah,
and it literally means, like, I think translates to retarded, because if you drink enough of it, you will go.
That's what happened.
I mean, that's literally what it. Don't get all woke or PC cancel on me. That's literally what it translates to.
No, it's okay. Austin's got autism, so it's okay.
He's got a blue hat
Brown
and all
instead of Austin Brown. So wonderful.
Yeah.
Who gets your shit done?
This is why you had to continue to talk about the liquor, because
I wanted to clarify.
Yeah, exactly. I've got to finish it.
He has to,
I like to know that.
He has to touch the doorknob 3 times.
That's not true. I just get hyper focused, and I got hung up on that one, man. I'm sorry.
You did. Yeah. You did.
It's okay, man.
Thank you.
You're
appreciate
welcome.
it. You
all of you benefited from this disorder of mine. All of you have.
All right. I have one last question, and I know it's probably going to be a dumb one. Okay.
No,
I
go
apologize. But what is the difference between editor-in-chief and editor-at-large?
Editor-at-large, they don't pay you as much.
Nah.
Okay. Editor-in-chief means you're usually in an office and you're fixing stuff up. Editor-at-large means you're out in the field quite a bit more, and you're more like a writer. And to be honest, I have no idea what my title is there anymore. I think it's still editor-at-large.
Assistant to the general manager.
I hear that, and I'm always just like,
you do not want to be the one that Karen wants to ask to see. So you don't want to be the chief.
Yeah,
I've got a bone to pick with you.
I'd like to
we appreciate it.
I read your article.
Well, thank you. I've had fun.
Yeah, no, it's been great having you on, man. We really appreciate you dealing with us. And
I've had 3.5 beers during this. Next time I'll wear a catheter. I think that'd be a good idea.
That's all right,
dude.
That's why Abe doesn't wear pants.
Yeah, it's exactly. I just have a urinal underneath here. I'm cathed up. I'm cathed up.
Oh, cathed up.
Exactly. After that Bass and Brews podcast, and peed in, I think, 2 Miller Lite cans.
God.
It was degeneracy.
You
did.
Oh man,
that
that happened.
Watch.
Yeah.
It's just like
that's not true.
I want to wrap it up with Abe he pissed in bottles in his office because he didn't want to walk around the wall to go to the toilet.
Yeah, that happened at his old house too.
Yeah.
Nice.
Hey, don't hate me.
Well, no, it's been a lot of fun, guys. Thank you. I look forward to hearing this.
Well,
so just quick, where can people find you to where can they buy a book?
Promotion.
Let's go there.
Amazon is always good, or if you Google Gayne, my name, Gayne, I bet you my website comes up. I bet you can find me on Amazon because, like I said, it's me and a Russian ballet.
Pretty straightforward.
It's not hard.
No.
Yeah.
I'm there.
Instagram, social media stuff?
Gayne, Gayne, and you'll find me. I don't know all the handles, but you'll find me on there.
We'll include it in the show notes for everybody.
2023. So. We can find you.
Yeah.
We'll find you.
I can find.
I have a special set of skills.
No, good.
Austin has a special skills.
There's no doubt that guy has got a very special set of skills. Well, man, appreciate you listening to. Oh my god.
Oh my gosh, dude, are you okay over there?
Being on the show, yes, thank you.
Oh my god.
Thank you for joining us this evening.
No, thank you. I'll have to get up to Trophy Club or down to Galveston.
We'll hit you up. We're in Fredericksburg.
Galveston's more fun. But we go down to Fredericksburg at least once a year to hunt. So, maybe there's a beer then.
We'll meet you at the cigar shop.
Yes.
Yeah, that'd be cool.
We will do that.
Cool.
Exactly.
All righty. Well, y'all take care. Thank you very much.
Thanks, everybody, for listening. Q Braley.
Stormwater Creek is the best. Grinch, the captain. Aim, the helper. Jordan, the problem solver. I hope you like Stormwater Creek. Stormwater Creek.